So hello everyone and welcome back to this channel. My name is Ruth and this is Time with Ruth, and today we have a special guest with us to talk about the Chevening Scholarship. So we have Erland with us today. Is there a name that you want to go by, or is that name okay?
That is fine. That is perfectly fine. It is my name after all.
It is, yeah. So thank you for being willing to join us today to share about your experience, because I'm sure that so many other people are really wanting to get the scholarship. So I just thought, let me ask Erland about his experience. And I'm sure today, as we talk and discuss, and as you hear from his experience, that it would encourage you as well as you go through the application process. So starting first, can you tell us a bit about your background and also what motivated you to apply for the Chevening Scholarship?
Okay. So my background really started in advocacy, especially environmental sustainability. I worked with a number of youth organizations for a number of years, championing environmental causes, for example, climate change, the sustainable development goals, keeping our environments clean. And I guess that sort of prepared me or placed me in lots of leadership sort of positions over the years. And naturally, when it came time to further my education, and especially in funding my education, in looking for opportunities to get a reputable master's degree, Chevening was one of those scholarships that looked for young leaders, especially from different countries across the world. And I felt that it would have been well placed that I apply for this scholarship in particular.
Mm. Thank you for sharing that. Sounds like a really good landing into the scholarship and your background. So it kind of felt like you naturally were led into this. So before we go into like your application process, I'm sure when you got that scholarship, there was something that happened within you. So what was your initial reaction when you found out you were awarded the Chevening Scholarship?
Okay, so I remember the day I actually got the email saying that I was one of the recipients of the scholarship. I was at work. I was at my desk. It had been a very, I guess, nerve-wracking sort of anxious period between application to actually receiving the scholarship. And then during the month that the scholarships were coming out, you had another person saying that they got it and you were not seeing emails. And I remember just every day just refreshing refreshing my email to see if anything would come in. And the date came in, I was at work, and I really needed to contain my excitement. So I saw the email and I was like, oh my goodness, thank God. And then I just ran out of the office, and the first person I called was my mom, and then my aunt, and then some cousins. And I'm like, hey, I got this scholarship. And it was really exciting. And I felt like my life really changed in that instant because what Chevening does, it gives you the opportunity to study what it is that you want to study. There is no sort of barriers to what the possibilities of things to study. So you get to study what it is that you want to. And I felt like I got that opportunity, and it was just an amazing moment just receiving that email saying you were granted the scholarship.
Yeah. Amazing. It sounds like, I guess, like as you said, quite an anxious period, like waiting, you'll put the application, but then it's like when you
Yes.
finally got it, it's like, wow, the excitement, contacting people. So it sounds like a really joyful experience that took place, and it was definitely worth it applying after all. So now we'll go into the application process, and I'll ask you some questions about that. So, how did you approach the Chevening application? Was there a particular strategy that worked well for you?
Okay, so really I approached the application with a clear focus on my long-term vision for contributing to my community and how achieving could help me achieve that. I think persons need to remember that especially when they're planning or they're strategizing for Chevening. My strategy, my personal strategy was to be I think that it sort of becomes intimidating for a lot of persons, or they feel a little bit boastful when they have to speak about themselves. But this applying for shipment is really all about you. So you bring out all of your cards. So your strat might be authentic in sharing your story, both your achievements and also overcoming challenges. And also I made sure to align my goals with Shivnin's mission, which is fostering leadership, innovation, and global cooperation. So these are important keys, important points to take note on.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that. And it's very true. I think a lot of people, when it comes to scholarships, they are quite fearful, like, oh, I don't want to seem arrogant and in terms of doing the application. But we have to remember it is a selling game and you have to sell yourself in these applications. So,
Yes, yes.
yeah. So also thinking about the application, what would you say was your biggest challenge you faced within the application process?
I think because I have a very diverse background and I've been so involved in so many different spaces, one of my biggest challenges was condensing my experiences into a compelling narrative.
Mm.
And the essays are not that, they're not very long essays. So you need to be very smart and structured of how you sell your story and how you place your experiences in there. So definitely that was one of my biggest challenges. I also found it challenging balancing the time needed for a thorough application with my ongoing community work
Yeah.
because the application is broken down into several different sections. And there are sections that you definitely need time to complete. Especially you need your references. So you have to make sure you have your references and also that they upload the necessary information. And so I always tell persons, do not wait until the very last moments to apply for this scholarship because at that point it's going to become exceedingly overwhelming.
Mm.
The moment that the scholarship opens up, you go, you begin the application process, and you see all that is required, and you basically be part of your strategy, how you're going to complete each of these sections. I think a lot of persons they focus mainly on the essays and they forget that this scholarship application also has other sections. You also need to look out for which universities are going to best align with what it is that you want to achieve. So that also takes time to research. There's a lot of research that goes into preparing yourself for achievement. So do not wait until the last minute to apply for this scholarship.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing great advice there. You know, start early is the key theme. So now we'll go into like personal and professional growth. And I'll ask you two questions on that. So, how has receiving the Chevening Scholarship impacted your personal and professional growth?
Um, for me, this scholarship has been very transformative. Personally, it expanded my worldview and gave me a confidence also to exchange with global leaders. I think when you coming from the Caribbean, and into the UK, especially at the opening ceremony and also at your university, you would meet other Chevening scholars. I was grateful to meet other Chevening scholars, not only from my country, but from the wider Caribbean region. And all of us have those ambitions and those passions for fostering better development within our region. So it opens that door to connect with like-minded individuals. And now I can say I have colleagues in almost every Caribbean country, but not only every Caribbean country, but across the globe that I can reach out to that I know have studied different areas in different fields, and they could guide me when I'm thinking of a particular area that I'm not very savvy in. So it does open that door to connect with so many global leaders. And you also need to think of yourself as a global leader who has knowledge and expertise to contribute to other persons as well. Professionally, it's opened doors for me in networking and learning opportunities, especially during my time at University of Leeds, which is the university I attended on the Chevening Scholarship, where I focused on diplomacy. And it also I also gained invaluable insights into like global challenges, which I can now apply to my local and regional projects.
Wow, that sounds so impressive, like so much accomplished. Just, many people are just thinking, oh, I just want to study abroad. I want to do this and that. But we can see that it's beyond, studying abroad, connection with people from the Caribbeans across the globe, etc. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that. So, the next question on this section is what key skills or experiences have you gained from studying abroad that you wouldn't have access otherwise?
I believe that studying abroad, especially out of your local, it definitely allows you to sharpen your critical thinking skills. You're no longer in a comfortable environment. You have been taken out of a box, especially if you've never traveled before. And actually met Shivners who never traveled before, and this was actually their first time outside of their country. So it allows you to have a very diverse perspective that you could look back at your experiences at home and also your experiences in the UK, how things work in the UK, what lessons you could learn from there that you could adopt back home. Additionally, I believe my research skills has also been sharpened because Chevening is a 1 year master's degree. It is a very compact and condensed year, and I'll not necessarily say that you have to be ready because I don't believe that you could ever be ready for for that. But it's I think the way that it is condensed, it sort of puts you to do more, to be a better version of yourself. And I think that's what I came out of that experience with. So you meet people from so many diverse backgrounds that alone begins to sharpen I guess your intellect, the way you think, the experiences that you learn from them. I think for me it was particularly interesting because I studied global governance and diplomacy. And when you are in a lecture hall or course rooms where persons are from the Asian continent, the African continent, Australia, like Europe, North and South America. You have an amalgamation of so many different experiences, and it is something that is truly enriching.
Yeah, thank you so much. So it just seems like giving me I'm thinking, oh, maybe I should apply. But I can't. But I'm in my own journey, but it just seems like a really good opportunity, especially hearing about the wider network, meeting new people, especially from different places. And that really follows into like the next section about culture exchange. So how did you experience living in the UK? Were there any significant culture shocks, and what aspects um, of life in the UK did you enjoy the most?
Okay, so I think what was very interesting for me coming from a small island with less than a quarter million persons where we're also very familiar with one another, and then sort of being taken out of that little fish bowl and being dropped into a big fish tank now where there is so much going on and you're constantly looking around like, what is this? So I think it was just very the fast pace life and how everything was also very connected in the UK was very eye-opening, and it was also very exciting for me. Also the structure of academic life compared to what I was used to was also sort of a culture shock. But what I really appreciated was how open my faculty was, the professors and lecturers, and the entire um, um, political science department. I felt a little bit out of my element when I came because I had not directly studied an area which was directly linked to politics or international relations. I
Yeah.
had the on the ground experience, but I did not. My first degree was in international business. So business management and political and development science are a little bit, in two different spheres. And I remember speaking to my academic advisor, and my advisor sort of guided me as to articles and books that I could read to just help me feel more comfortable in the academic atmosphere. But it was a beautiful exchange because my first degree, I did it completely online. And now I am in a setting, an actual classroom setting where I get to actually interact all the time with persons. So I guess that was a bit of a culture shock. But I really liked how the natural demeanor of persons in the UK is courteous. Everybody's always hi and hello and yes. And we have sort of that culture back home, but yeah, I appreciated that. It was a little bit of a shock, but like yeah.
Mm. I have to specify that's probably Leeds culture more
Okay,
friendly.
probably that's Leeds.
Yeah.
That's Leeds really and truly because I didn't have that experience in London. So that was definitely
Yeah, that's because it's
Leeds.
but that sounds like, yeah, so much, I mean, going on there, and it does feel like when there is that culture shock, there is time for growth, and it seems that you did have that support with your department and things like that. So thinking again, I know you touched on this a bit as well before, but what valuable insights did you gain from interacting, with scholars from diverse cultures, backgrounds, and how these interactions influence your perspective on the world?
I believe that interacting with scholars from diverse backgrounds gave me a deeper appreciation for global interconnectedness.
Yeah.
These interactions, they definitely taught me to approach challenges from multiple perspectives and also underscored the importance of global solutions require inclusive and diverse input. Sometimes we always think of, probably this country or this particular way of doing things, but I think the interconnectedness, the uniqueness of different people coming together definitely is a source of global solution building.
Thank you for sharing that. Unity is key. So the next questions are going to be mostly about giving back. So one of the key focuses, I know you've mentioned about the Chevening Scholarship, is leadership, and you talked a lot about that, especially in the beginning,
Yes,
and giving back
yes.
to your community. So how do you plan, or how have you used your skills and knowledge to contribute to your home country?
I have definitely started applying my skills or giving back. Um, I have been approached by so many young persons while I was still in Leeds and also since applying for university and guidance. So I have been able to do a lot of that in the past couple months. Also, I would definitely say that the scholarship has opened doors for me in terms of the the access to persons that I now interact with, because persons are actually reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, I know you are a Chevening awardee. What are you doing now? What are you interested in? These I have this going on." And prior to that, I think I did not have that sort of access. And I believe Chevening has allowed me to have that sort of access now.
I guess like since the start of this interview, like my thoughts have mostly in my mind, I've been hearing a lot of collaboration and connection. So it kind of seems that's what the scholarship has provided. So in terms of your future projects or passions, so can you share any current or future projects that you're passionate about, and how the Chevening experience plays a role in them?
Okay. One of the things that I really wanted to get into was really get into my area of study. I know it's very difficult sometimes after you have completed your studies and you return home,
Mm.
and sometimes it's very difficult to get directly into your area of passion, and you may have to settle for something else. But I believe because of the Chevening the Chevening brand, the name Chevening, what it upholds, the types of persons that they issue the scholarship, it has definitely sets me apart from other persons who are returning home. And I am pleased to say that I have been receiving opportunities within my area of study. One of my most recent projects, I got the opportunity to work with the Pan American Health Organization, which is a subsidiary of the World Health Organization, where I did a project on climate change and health within my country. So that for me was like a big aha wow moment because I one of the things I really wanted to do was work with an international organization. I believe it's honestly because of my experience and the fact that I was awarded this scholarship really sets after.
Amazing. So, congratulations on that project. I think I read it on LinkedIn and I did read.
Yes.
So, yes. So, yeah, so it's nice how the doors are opening regarding this scholarship. So, the next part is about inspiration for others. So, I know we have talked about some of the application process and you've highlighted some things. So, what advice would you give to future applicants, especially those who are dreaming of opportunities like this? And we do know like it is quite competitive. So, what advice would you give to future applicants?
Okay, my advice would be to stay true to your story and clearly articulate your vision for the future. I think that is something that is sometimes difficult. Again, you have to look inwardly because you're telling your story. So, I would encourage persons, if even if you have not thought about applying for a scholarship, I think that is something that's very important to not only applying for scholarships, but other aspects of your life, knowing your story and staying true your story and being able to articulate that. Um, be persistent. Don't underestimate the power of your unique experiences and show how the Chevening platform can definitely amplify your ability to make a positive impact. You may think that what you're doing is very small, but just imagine and take from me my experiences and think of how gaining a Chevening scholarship can amplify what you think is very small. And the process, I would say, is much about your growth as it is about your achievements. So think on that.
Yeah. Really potent points there. Thank you for sharing. And I'm sure that anyone listening who wants to apply will feel encouraged. You know, it's so important to stay true to ourselves and to also write our stories as we do these applications so that there's actually a human being that someone can actually connect with as
Yes.
they're going through the application process.
Yes.
Yeah. So next question. I'm wondering whether to answer it or not because I feel like you've mentioned it, but it says, what has been the most inspiring and transformative moment during your Chevening journey?
Again, I would say it would be engaging in this discussion with fellow scholars who are all passionate just like me. You would think that you would come there with so much passion. Just imagine a room with over 1,000 people who are just as passionate about making a change as you in their respective countries. So for me, that was just a very empowering moment, knowing that this is a room of change makers, and we're not just here because we're getting a free education, but we're also here because we're passionate about the different our different spheres of study, and it's something very empowering you leave a room like that and you go back, you know the perspectives of many different minds.
Just talked about the inspiration of like talking, being in a room with many different minds. Yeah. And I think that's important, especially when you're doing a very intense course like a master's. Those
Yes.
that encourage you to feel like, wow, let me keep going. So it's definitely important to stay connected. One, in terms of like your career aspirations. So in terms of your career, you have talked about how you did a master's quite different to what you did. But what would you like to achieve in the next 5 years, and how do you see the Chevening experience contributing to these goals?
So again, I would definitely like to continue in my sphere of study, which is global governance, which is how interconnected we are in this world, and considering that we do not necessarily have a one world government, how do we tackle all of those transboundary issues? So I would really like to stay within this sphere, dealing with issues like climate change, public health, sustainable development. So working in international organizations is really my goal. So this is where I am. The Chevening experience has definitely equipped me with leadership skills and also a global network, which is very important and necessary to drive those issues that I am passionate about.
Nice. So yes, in the next 5 years, we'll see you with the big bosses. Uh, so yeah, so thank you for sharing that. So I guess this is like the closing thought. So lastly, what would be your parting words or your final message that you would like to leave with the audience, especially those who are aspiring to go to be on similar paths that you have?
My encouragement would be to remain persistent and focus on their passion. That is something that is very important. There are many times in life that we will be focused on doing something and then we may get knocked down, but I encourage you to remain persistent and focus on your passion. Um, Additionally, whatever journey that you are on, it will be challenging, but remember that every step that you take, it will bring you closer to making a real difference. And I think the most important thing is to stay connected to your purpose. I mentioned that several times already. Stay connected to your purpose, whether that is giving back to your community or addressing global challenges. Contribution is exceedingly valuable. Do not underestimate the power of your contribution, no matter how small you are or how small you believe that your contribution is. It has value. Don't ever forget that.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I'm left, even though I'm not applying, inspired about this scholarship, the Chevening Scholarship. We hope by the end of it, I've got the pronunciation right. But yeah, thank you so much, Erlen, for sharing with us your experience and your journey. And I'm sure whoever watches this will feel inspired. But I guess my takeaway points are that this scholarship really allows, collaboration with different people. It makes you feel connected, and it's well beyond, the prestigiousness of it as well. It does kind of open opportunities and doors, and again with the focus of leadership. So I've learned quite a lot today, and thank you so much for sharing your journey and also your story with us today.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yes, you're welcome. See you later.
Bye.